Oh boy, I'm not gonna lie. This is sad. This is really, really sad. And I think I didn't fully internalize how sad it was until earlier this afternoon. The Vancouver Canucks are playing off against the Vegas Golden Knights today. It's the last game of the 24-25 regular season for Vancouver. They are not going to play any more games in this year. They didn't make the playoffs. And now we are taking a look at this final home game as potentially the last Canucks game for some of these players. And you already know from the title, from the thumbnail, today we're talking about Brock Boeser. Now, before we dive into that, I will say, as I had spoken about in a prior video, I'm actually not going to be able to watch a good chunk of this Canucks game against Vegas. I have a really important meeting to attend to, and that's not really anything related to YouTube, it's just kind of a personal thing, but there's some stuff going on in my community, and I gotta be there to see what's up and just take everything in. But that's going to go on until 8:30, maybe even a little bit past that. So the Canucks game, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to watch a good chunk of it. But despite that, though, despite the fact that I'm not going to be able to watch most of this game live, that's not going to take away from how emotional and how sentimental things may be in regards to Brock Boeser. Let's bring up this comment made by Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast earlier last week. Elliot said this about Boeser, saying it's unlikely that he'll be back. I think Brock Boeser is heartbroken. And that checks out. That's not something that I think is all too surprising. When you think about Brock Boeser, the guy that he is, the personality that he has, they called him Mr. Sensitive in the room, for a very particular reason, which you could probably infer. But Brock Boeser has always been one of the more emotional guys in the room. Not in terms of the way he plays. Like, he's not JT Miller going out there and swearing and hacking and whacking and hitting the back of the net with his stick, yelling at the goalie to leave the ice. Brock Boeser's not like that, but Brock is more of a sentimental guy. And he has been the longest tenured Vancouver Canuck ever since the departure of Bo Horvat a few years ago. It's Brock. He's that guy. 2017, 2018, he has been on the Canucks since then. He has seen the team go through all the ups and downs, from the playoffs to missing, to the terrible COVID year, to the playoffs again last year and 40 goals and everything like that. Brock has been in a weird spot with this Vancouver Canucks management. I saw this point, I think it was on Halford and Brough. If not, it might have been Canucks Talk. I'm not too sure. But, like, the management's perception of Brock Boeser has been very different from many of the other people that the organization has dealt with. We had brought up how Marcus Pettersson and Drew O'Connor and Kevin Lankinen and all these guys, they got extensions relatively quickly compared to Brock Boeser, who still does not have an extension for next year. There's been the talking point of management always wanting to get more out of Brock and not necessarily being satisfied with much of what he has done. Last year, he had scored 40 goals, and Alvin's response to that was, you could have gotten 50. But 50. You were on pace to doing it. You were playing like you could get it, but you fell off in the second half of the year, and you only got 40. Like, just something about that thought process. I've been thinking about it quite a bit the past few days. And now we're seeing this with Elliot Friedman saying that Brock is likely heartbroken, and how the negotiations over term have not been able to be solved. Now, you're seeing tweets like this. Adam Kierszenblat posted how 2,944 days ago, in 2017, Brock Boeser made his Canucks debut against the Minnesota Wild, and he scored his first career goal that night. You know what's great? I made a video about that when it happened, and that was one of the more popular videos that I made at the time. Brock Boeser's debut with the Vancouver Canucks 4-2 win. And if I recall correctly, I think that video might have brought me out of a hiatus or something. Yeah, it was a weird time in 2017 making YouTube videos, some about the Canucks, some about my video games and others, but now we're seeing tweets like this. Noah Strang talking about how Brock Boeser takes the ice for what is likely his last morning skate with the Canucks. And I saw that and I was like, man, that's sad. That is really sad. Like, I did not expect to get all sentimental about Brock Boeser this morning, but now it's like, from game 1 against Minnesota to game number whatever it is against the Vegas Golden Knights, this could very well be Brock's last ever game in a Vancouver Canucks uniform. Now, to Brock's credit, he did go out there and say this, that I'll just try to take in tonight with my teammates. And I mean, you really never know at the end of the day. So I don't really want to fully think that it could be my last game, Brock said. I'm just going to take it as another game and finish the year. Brock did not want to talk about tonight like it was his last game with the Canucks. You never know what can happen, he said. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm sure I'll talk with my agent after the season and see if anything can come to an agreement or not. Might I remind you, Brock said to Ian McIntyre that he actually hasn't been talking to his agent this entire time. He has not picked up the phone and spoken to, I think it's Ben Hankinson, this entire past few weeks stint or so. He has really just been leaving all that negotiation to the agent and not really trying to get involved in any respect with what's going on here. So if at some point in the offseason, Brock finally calls his agent and he's like, hey, they were giving us 5 years, screw it, say yes. 8 years be damned, I'd rather stay here in Vancouver than go elsewhere. I want to stay with PD, I want to stay with Quinn, I want to keep this thing going on here in Vancouver. He doesn't have to yeet off to New York to play with JT Miller again. He doesn't have to leave and find a hometown reunion with Brock Faber and Brock Nelson in Minnesota because they're going to triple down on the Brock, and the Brocks. There's potential for Brock Boeser to come back, but, you know, if it gets to July 1st and he is still unsigned, then who knows? He's going to get a whole bunch of money on the free agent market. Maybe even gets $8.5 or $9 million a year as a free agent. I mean, is he worth that? Probably not, but free agents get overpaid all the time, especially ones that are coming off of what you could say, oh, he's having a down year. He had 40 goals the other year. He had 70 points the other year. Give him a playmaker like JT Miller that can get in the puck, and he'll get 30 goals easy. It's really sad that we are seeing this go down the way it has. But Brock speaks out about his last game, how he doesn't want to think of it as his last game, how he could, in some respect, talk to his agent and maybe get something done. It's like so obvious that he wants to stay. So obvious. So I do kind of question if Brock follows his heart and just decides to bite the bullet and take the smaller term on the contract, then maybe he decides that his love for Vancouver and his desire to stay here is bigger and better than however many extra millions of dollars he would get if he signed for an 8-year deal instead of a 5-year deal. Who knows if that contract offer is even still on the table, though? That's an entire other conversation. For now, though, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Brock Boeser and what could be his last Canucks game ever. We'll make another video later in today's show talking about some more Canucks news and notes, but for now, let me know in the comment section how you feel about Brock and the situation at hand. Do you think this is as sad as I do? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.